Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, folks. I am your host, Joey Harris, broadcasting from makeshift studios here deep in the heart of stately Maine Manor. Folks, how are you doing today? Are you doing good? Did you make it through another week? I made it through another week, just as happy as I can be that I made it through another week. And still here, fighting the good fight. As always, I went to a wedding yesterday. As I record this, my wife and I went to see some friends get married, and congratulations to Mike and Melissa. And I gotta say that Mike is the best hype man that I've ever had or that I've ever seen. He told everybody about this podcast that I was doing, and you can't beat that. You can't beat that with a stick. So congratulations to the happy couple. Was outside, did the social distancing thing, and the bugs just happened to love me, even though I was, covering up with the bug spray and with the DEET and all of that. Still got hit pretty good with that, but we are here to rock and roll through another week of the best of the WWE Network. And today we look at the main event 2 from February 1989 from the WWF. The main event 2 was shown live on NBC on February the 3rd, 1989 from the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Vince McMahon does a voiceover of what we're going to see, the big face-off of the Mega Powers and the Twin Towers over footage of what has gone down between the two teams. We then go to our opening credits. Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura welcome us to the event. Jesse is decked out in some shades and a boa. Jesse says that the Twin Towers will win because 3 of a kind will beat a pair every time. Mean Gene Okerlund interviews Slick and the Twin Towers. Slick says that they will win because 3 beats 2, and they have the law of the jungle in Akeem and the law of the land in the Big Boss Man. They then head to the ring. Video of the friendship between Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Jesse isn't buying it. He says there's a lot of dissension on that team and that there's a cover-up going on. Mean Gene then interviews Randy Savage, Hulk Hogan, and Miss Elizabeth. They are pumped up and insist that they are all still on the same page and that they will take care of business tonight. The Mega Powers, Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, with Miss Elizabeth versus the Twin Towers, Akeem, and the Big Boss Man with Slick. Boss Man and Hogan start after some hesitation on the Mega Powers' part. Hogan starts out hot, hitting all of the heels. Boss Man is thrown outside. Back in, he and Hogan slug it out in the corner. Boss Man slides out and gets hit by a Savage outside. Akeem in, and he gets tagged by both Mega Powers. Boss Man in, and he is being battered by Savage. Hogan hits Akeem with the double axe handle from the ropes. Boss Man hits a big clothesline and pile driver on Hogan. Akeem tagged in. The heels are tagging frequently. Hogan and Boss Man are fighting outside. Boss Man does a modified spine buster that gets a 2 count. A heel mistake lets Hogan come back. Savage hits a crossbody on Akeem, but Boss Man makes the save. Akeem throws Savage into Liz on the outside. Hogan comes over to check on them, and Liz is still out. Savage asks him what he is doing, and Akeem drags him back into the ring. The Twin Towers beat Savage while Hogan takes Liz to the back. He gets Liz to a stretcher. Hogan stays with Liz and doesn't exactly put on an Oscar-winning acting job of being upset. Back in the ring, Savage is getting pummeled. Liz wakes up and tells Hogan to go back to the ring. Crowd gets fired up now that Hogan is back. Double teaming on Savage. And there's a funny moment here as the Twin Towers hit the ropes at the same time and Akeem goes through them. There's a ton of GIFs on it, so if you want to look for the GIF of the Twin Towers, you see them. They just hit the ropes at the same time, and Akeem just flies right straight through the ropes. Savage is fighting back, and he clears the ring. Savage tags Hogan and also slaps him. Savage leaves. Hogan hulks up, big boot, and a leg drop on Akeem for the pin. After beating up the heels, Hogan rushes to the back. Savage is back with Liz. Savage is telling Liz that he is number one. Savage says Hogan is jealous of him and that he was carrying Hogan. He says Hogan can't beat him. He says the famous phrase, if you ever listen to this or go back and see a retrospective of this, he says Hogan has lust in his eyes for Elizabeth. He then attacks Hogan in the back. Liz comes over and he slings her out of the way. Brutus Beefcake stops Savage before he can hit Hogan with the WWF Championship belt, but he and some agents get slung too. There's a famous moment here that earlier they'd gone to commercial and Hogan's like, count me in, tell me what the tizime is, trying to speak Carney, and he gets caught live, so they redo it for the West Coast, and that has been what is shown on the WWE network. And here, as Brutus comes in before he's supposed to come in and quickly sees it and goes right back out again. So it's the peril of live TV, folks. Hercules versus Ted DiBiase with Virgil. While Hercules is coming out, Jesse says tonight is just the explosion of all the problems that had been building within the Mega Powers. Mean Gene is back in the first aid area with Hogan, Beefcake, and the Doctor. They are still working on Hogan, and Mean Gene says his mental shape is not good. I think that's what I need in my life. I need a Mean Gene just to stand outside my office, check in with me occasionally, and then announce to the outside world how I'm doing mentally, physically, and what's going on with my life. So if anybody wants to be my Mean Gene, hit me up. Hercules attacks DiBiase as he comes to the ring. He also slings Virgil around. He presses and throws DiBiase. DiBiase comes back and works over Hercules. Hercules powers out of a pin attempt. Hercules hits a suplex. Back and forth. Hercules hits a big power slam. Virgil wraps Hercules' chain around a turnbuckle. DiBiase goes to drive Hercules into it, but Hercules blocks and puts DiBiase into it. DiBiase kicks out of a pin attempt. Hercules gets DiBiase into a backbreaker. The referee goes to take the chain off the turnbuckle, and Virgil distracts Hercules. DiBiase rolls Hercules up for the pin. Mean Gene is still in the first aid area. Hogan is making pain noises. He then goes off yelling Randy. Vince and Jesse argue over who is correct in the Mega Powers breakup. Jesse says he saw this coming. Hogan is still looking for Savage and is tearing the backstage area apart. He accosts Jim Neidhart, Shawn Michaels, and Bret Hart looking for Savage. And if you know what Hogan's relationship and posturing for position with the latter two over the next 15 years will be, the jokes almost write themselves. As we fade to black, Hogan still looking for the Macho Man. Folks, if you like this show, please leave a review in iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your podcast platform of choice. There are a number of ways that you can contact me. You can follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I am at the Joey Harris. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey Harris saying so long from stately Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.